The sky was on fire above planet Xylon 9. Human escape pod cut through the atmosphere like a shooting star. Inside, pilot Ethan Cole held his breath, struggling with the controls. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and the pod rattled like it would. Break apart any second. This is Ethan Cole, requesting emergency. His voice was lost in static. Then, silence. The pod slammed into the ground. Throwing dust and debris into the air, everything went black when Ethan opened his eyes. The world was blurry, smoke drifted from the wreckage, and red dust covered his suit. His arm hurt, and he could barely move. He looked around, seeing only red cliffs, dead trees, and a strange blue sky. This doesn't look like any rescue zone, he muttered. He pulled himself out of the wreck, limping toward the edge of the crater. Suddenly a deep growl came from behind him. He turned slowly, heart pounding. 3 creatures emerged from the shadows, low to the ground, with glowing eyes and sharp teeth. They circled him like wolves, hungry and waiting. Ethan reached for his sidearm. Gone. Just when he thought it was over, a loud energy pulse echoed in the air. One of the creatures exploded in a flash of green light. Another blast sent the others fleeing into the rocks. Ethan looked up, stunned. A tall, armored figure stood on a nearby cliff, holding a glowing rifle. The figure jumped down with perfect balance. Boots hitting the ground without a sound. The helmet retracted, and he saw her face, an alien woman. With violet skin and silver markings across her cheeks, her eyes glowed a soft amber, and her black hair was tied behind her head. She looked at him with a strange mix of curiosity and annoyance. "You're lucky I was nearby," she said. Her voice smooth but firm. Ethan tried to speak but coughed instead. Who are you?" he asked. "Name's Vera," she said, kneeling to check his injuries. "You're human, right?" "Last time I checked," Ethan replied, forcing a weak smile. She rolled her eyes. "Great, just what I needed." She pulled a small device from her belt and scanned him. The screen lit up with unknown symbols, but she seemed satisfied. "You're not infected," she muttered. "That's a start." Before Ethan could ask more, Vera stood and walked a few steps away. Her armor was torn on one side, the fabric underneath also ripped. She glanced back at him, then sighed. "No peeking human," she said with a blush, turning her back to him. She removed part of her gear, replacing it with a patch from her bag. Ethan, still half dazed, looked away awkwardly. What is this place?" he asked. "Still sitting in the dust, outskirts of Sector Thalos," she said, tightening a strap on her shoulder. "Not a friendly neighborhood for tourists." "You're a mercenary?" Ethan asked. She turned to him again, her expression unreadable, something like that. Vera offered him a hand, helping him to stand. "You won't survive long out here alone," she said. "Come on." They began walking toward the hills. Moving slowly through the dry wasteland, Ethan noticed she kept looking over her shoulder, scanning the area. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "Trouble," she said simply. "And trust me, it always finds us." After an hour of walking, they stopped near a rocky overhang. Vera activated a small cloaking field and told Ethan to rest. She stood nearby, keeping watch, silent. An alert Ethan sat down, watching her from the corner of his eye. She didn't speak much, but there was something about her calm, dangerous, yet human, in a way. "You saved me," he said. "Thank you," Vera didn't look at him. "Don't thank me yet," she replied. "You might regret surviving." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, then finally turned to face him. "You weren't supposed to be here," she said quietly. "Your ship was off course by at least 2 galaxies. How do you know that?" Vera didn't answer. Instead, she tapped her wrist console and a holographic map appeared. "We're heading to a communication point," she said. "Maybe someone will come looking for you. And what if they don't? Then I hope. You're better at running than you are at landing," she said with a small smirk. As night began to fall on the alien landscape, strange lights flickered in the distance. Vera stared at them for a long time, then whispered something in a language Ethan didn't understand, but he caught one word: human. He didn't know why, but the way she said it gave him chills. As he drifted to sleep, her final words echoed in his mind. "If they find you, we all die." *. Ethan woke to the sound of breathing, not his own. It was deep, slow, and far too close. His eyes opened, and all he could see were jagged rocks. Above, glowing with faint green veins, he tried to move, but Vera's hand pushed him back down. "Don't move," she whispered, voice sharp and low. "There's something out there." Ethan blinked, still groggy. "Something," he muttered. She pointed upward, where a shadow moved between the rock spires. It was huge, insect-like, and nearly invisible in the dim light. Its legs clung to the ceiling, dripping acid-like fluid onto the stones. Each drop sizzled like fire. Vera slowly reached for her rifle. "Void crawlers," she said. "They hunt by vibration." Ethan stayed still. Barely breathing, the creature turned its head slightly. Sensing movement, it began to descend, long limbs stretching like ropes. Vera's hand tightened on the trigger. Just as it lunged, she rolled sideways and fired. The blast lit the cave with blue light, blasting the thing backward. It screeched and vanished into the dark. Vera stood, grabbing Ethan by the arm. "Move." "Now," she said, pulling him through the narrow tunnel. They ran through winding stone paths, water dripping, strange symbols carved into the walls. After several minutes, they reached a small chamber lit by glowing plants. Ethan collapsed against a wall, heart racing. "What the hell was that?" he asked, breathless. "Scout beast," Vera replied, scanning the cave. "If one's near, more are coming." Ethan looked at her, eyes wide. "Are you sure this is the safest route to your Cums tower?" Vera didn't answer. Instead, she activated a small projection on her wrist, showing a map. She stared at it with a troubled look. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked. "That thing," she said slowly. "It shouldn't be this far west. This region was supposed to be clear, so we're off course." Ethan said. "No," Vera replied. "Something's pushing the wildlife out. Something bigger." Ethan swallowed hard. "Fantastic," he muttered. "Lost, hunted, and no breakfast." Vera gave a small, rare smile. "I didn't say we were lost," she said. "I just didn't say where we were going." He raised an eyebrow. "That's comforting." She sat across from him, still holding her weapon. There was a silence. Between them, thick with unspoken things, Ethan broke it. "You were scanning me yesterday," he said. "What were you looking for?" Vera hesitated, then replied, "Traces of biomarkers." "In English, please," Ethan said. "Your DNA," she said, eyes locking with his. "Some humans were part of illegal testing programs left behind on alien worlds." Ethan froze. "Wait, you think I'm part of an experiment?" "I think you're not who you think you are," Vera said calmly. "Or maybe you are. And someone else wants to decide your fate." Ethan looked away, confused and angry. "I'm just a cargo pilot," he said. "I was hauling mining supplies," Vera stood up, walking toward the tunnel's exit. "Then why did your crash send out 2 energy signals?" she asked. "Your pod only should have made one," Ethan frowned. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I was knocked out." Vera paused at the edge of the light. "I think someone was tracking you before you even landed," she said. "And now, they know where we are." Suddenly, a rumble shook the cave. Dust fell from the ceiling, and strange echoes rang from deep inside the mountain. A new voice crackled from Vera's wrist device. Harsh, mechanical, alien, her face went pale. Ethan leaned closer. "What is it?" "They've activated a bounty zone," she said. "Every hunter on this planet just got your coordinates." Ethan stared at her. "You're kidding?" "I never kid," she replied. "Especially not when we're about to be surrounded." She tossed him a small glowing disc. "Press that if I go down," she said. "It'll burn a hole in the ground big enough for you to escape. What about you?" he asked. Vera looked at him without emotion. "I'm not the one they want." Suddenly, lights appeared in the distance. Red flares in the cave. Shadows moved fast. Not creatures this time, but people, armed, armored, and silent. They were coming. Vera raised her weapon, standing between them and Ethan. "You're not dying today, human," she said. "Not on my watch." The door wasn't supposed to open. It was ancient, covered in vines, half buried in stone. But as Ethan placed his hand on the surface, it glowed. Vera stared in shock, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't move." The old door slid open. Without a sound, revealing a cold metal hallway underneath, a deep blue light pulsed from inside. Like a heartbeat, it was too smooth, too advanced, and far too human-looking. "That's not alien," Ethan said slowly. "That's Tehran tech." Vera said nothing, her eyes scanning every detail with unease. She stepped inside first. Rifle. Raised, motion sharp, Ethan followed, the air inside colder than outside. Smelled like rust and ozone. "Why is human tech here?" he asked. "Was there a base on this planet?" "No," Vera said. "There wasn't." They walked through the narrow hallway, their steps echoing in perfect rhythm. Old screens lined the walls, most cracked and dark, but some flickered, showing faded footage of labs, corridors, and faces, human faces. Ethan stopped in front of a screen. Watching the loop, a young man wearing the same flight uniform as Ethan stared into the camera. "This isn't a test site," the recording said. "It's a prison." Ethan turned to Vera. "What the hell is this place?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she tapped a panel on the wall. A hidden door slid open, revealing a massive room filled with stasis pods. Most were broken, empty, but one still held something. Someone. Ethan stepped closer. Heart. Pounding inside the pod was a woman, floating in a pale blue liquid. She looked human, but her eyes, even closed, shimmered silver beneath her eyelids. Vera placed a hand on the glass, her face unreadable. "She's a hybrid," Vera said. "Quietly, half human, half the Lori, like you?" Ethan asked. Vera didn't flinch. "No," she said. "She's older." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. The lights turned red, and an automated voice echoed. "Unauthorized entry detected." Vera pulled Ethan away from the pod. "We have to go," she said. "But this place," Ethan said, "we need to tell someone. No one will believe you." She replied, "And some already know." She activated a small device on her wrist, and the walls began to shift, sealing the chamber as they ran. The images on the screens changed. They showed Ethan. Not just him crashing, but him walking. With Vera standing beside the pod, talking inside the cave, Ethan stopped running. "These cameras are real time," he said. "Someone's watching us." Vera turned, jaw clenched. "They've been watching you since before you landed." "Why?" he asked. "Because your DNA has a signature linked to the Vault protocol." She said, "You can activate locked tech. Tech no one's supposed to touch." Ethan looked at his hands, confused and frightened. "I'm just a pilot." He said, "I fix things. I fly ships." "And now," Vera said, "you've opened something ancient and very dangerous." They reached the outer tunnel. Just as the floor behind them began to collapse, machines rose from the ground. Old defense bots, covered in dust but still armed. Vera fired without hesitation. Her shots clean and fast. Ethan ducked, grabbing an old pipe from the ground, swinging it at one bot's leg. It sparked and fell, but not before slicing his arm. Blood dripped onto the metal floor. Vera grabbed his wrist and stared at the cut. Her eyes widened. "Your blood," she said. It activated the door. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "What does that mean?" Vera didn't answer. She looked at him like she was seeing a ghost. Then she said softly, "It means you're not just human." Before he could ask more, the tunnel behind them exploded.
Ow.
Rocks falling and sealing the entrance, they escaped. Out the other side into the open desert, gasping for air, Ethan dropped to his knees, still bleeding. "I didn't sign up for this," he muttered. Vera knelt beside him, wrapping his arm in cloth. "I didn't sign up to protect you," she said, "but here we are." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Ethan said, "What now?" Vera stood, her voice hard. "Now we run," she said. "Because whoever built that place, they know you woke it up." Asterisk, the signal tower looked like a miracle from a distance, rising from the sand like a forgotten god, metal bones stretched. Toward the purple sky, it shimmered under the twin suns, surrounded by a field of glowing stones. Ethan stared at it in disbelief. A real Terran relay, he said. It might still work. Vera didn't look so hopeful. Her eyes scanned the horizon, her hand on her weapon. Too clean, she said. Too quiet. They stepped carefully through the stone field. The rocks pulsed under their boots like veins. Ethan touched one and felt a soft hum like it was alive. Energy nodes, Vera said, power conduits. For the tower, step wrong, and you fry. Ethan followed her exact path, trying not to think about how many ways he could die. The closer they got, the more the air changed. Colder, thinner, and full of static. His skin prickled like tiny electric shocks dancing along his arms. Finally, they reached the base. The tower's interface was cracked, but functional. Ethan connected a cable from his wrist device and watched as his screen lit up. Still got a satellite link, he said with a smile. If anyone's listening, so I'll reach them. He typed fast, sending out a distress signal location. Encoded, message encrypted, SOS launched. Vera didn't smile. Too easy, she said. Way too easy. Just then, the ground beneath them pulsed. A deep mechanical hum shook the tower. Ethan turned. The glowing rocks had shifted color. Now burning red, a siren echoed in the valley, low and ancient, like a warning from the planet itself. What did I trigger? Ethan asked, backing away. Vera drew her rifle. Not what, she said, who dozens of drones rose from the ground like insects waking from a long sleep. Sleek, black, with rotating lenses and energy weapons on each side, they formed a perfect circle around the tower, trapping them inside. They were waiting, Vera said. Your signal didn't call help. It activated a trap. The tower lit up with red beams, scanning Ethan from head to toe. A calm voice echoed from above. Target confirmed. DNA match. Vault keyholder. Ethan's stomach dropped. What does that mean? He shouted. Vera answered, without turning. It means they think you're a weapon. The drones fired, not bullets, but stasis beams. Vera tackled Ethan to the ground. Rolling behind a broken console, sparks exploded around them as the tower shook. Ethan grabbed a loose panel, yanked out a power core and threw it toward the drones. It exploded mid-air, knocking a few out of the sky. Vera popped up and fired in quick bursts. Dropping more, we're not going to last long. She said, we need to overload the tower. Won't that fry the signal? Ethan asked. We already sent it, she replied, but if they track it back, your whole species is next. Ethan hesitated, then ran to the base of the tower. He pulled wires, smashed panels, and rewired the core as Vera covered him. Sweat poured down his face. Sparks burned his gloves. Just a little more, he said. A drone zipped past, nearly hitting his shoulder. Vera screamed his name and tackled the drone with her bare hands. She smashed it into the tower frame and shouted, Now, Ethan, do it now. Kay slammed the last wire into place and hit the override. The tower lit up like a sun, and a shockwave burst outward. The drones dropped instantly, lifeless, then silence. Smoke drifted into the sky. The tower collapsed behind them. Vera sat on the ground, breathing hard. Her arm was bleeding. Her armor cracked. Ethan sat beside her, chest heaving. Well, he said. At least it was exciting. Vera didn't laugh. She just looked at the horizon. They know now. She said quietly, They'll come for you. Ethan turned to her. Who are they? She looked at him, her eyes sad. The ones who built the vaults, she said. The ones who think you belong to them. The sun dipped behind the cliffs, casting long shadows across the red sand. Far in the distance, a black dot rose into the air. A ship, moving fast, too fast. They're already here, Vera whispered. And for the first time, Ethan saw fear in her eyes. Ethan awoke to metal pressing against his skin. His hands were bound, his ankles too. The room smelled of oil, smoke, and fear. A red light blinked above him, matching the slow thump of his heart. He tried to sit up, but the restraints held him. Tight, cold cuffs, alien in design, glowed faintly around his wrists. Voices murmured beyond the walls, robotic and distorted. The language wasn't human, but somehow he understood pieces of it. Subject active, one voice said. Do not engage neural core, another replied. Vault code must remain stable. Ethan's eyes darted to the ceiling. A strange circular machine hovered above him, scanning him with a blue beam. Each pulse made his thoughts feel slower, heavier, like memories were being pulled out without permission.
Ow.
Then, suddenly silence. The beam shut off. The voices stopped. The door slid open with a hiss. A figure walked in, armor black as void, helmet smooth and featureless. Behind him stood two guards, not alien, not fully human either. Their eyes glowed white, their skin pale and seamless. "You're awake," the main figure said. Ethan tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. The man stepped forward, removed his helmet, and revealed a face Ethan recognized. His own. Ethan stared. Frozen, the copy looked older, colder. His eyes sharper than a knife. "I'm what you could have been," the clone said. "If they had gotten to you first, what? What is this place?" Ethan managed. "The Ark vessel," the other Ethan replied. "A collection of genetic projects from the Vault War." "You're lying," Ethan whispered. The clone smiled. "Not at all," he said. "You're not just a pilot, Ethan. You're a blueprint." Before Ethan could respond, the door opened again. Another prisoner was pushed inside, beaten, half-conscious. It was Vera. Her face was bruised, her armor broken. But her eyes still burned with fire. Ethan shouted, trying to reach her. But the restraints held him down. The clone walked over and crouched beside her. "You," he said softly, "are not the threat she is." He turned back to Ethan. "Your DNA unlocks vaults," he said, "but her blood carries forbidden keys." Ethan's mind reeled. "What are you talking about?" "She's not just a mercenary," the clone said. "She's one of the last survivors of the Thalori core caste. The bloodline that once controlled the galaxy's weapons." Ethan looked at Vera. "She didn't deny it, I was supposed." "To destroy the vaults," she said quietly, "not fall for the one that opened them." The clone smirked. "And now you've doomed us both." Suddenly, alarms blared. Flashing lights turned red, then black, then red again. A low voice echoed through the chamber. "Not human, not mechanical, unauthorized connection detected. Extraction failure, lockdown engaged." Vera smiled despite the blood on her lip. "You tripped the failsafe," she said to the clone. "You copied the key, but not the soul." The lights exploded as the room shook violently. The clone shouted orders, but the system ignored him. Ethan's cuffs released with a snap. Vera kicked up a metal shard and cut her own restraints. They dove behind a console as the walls began to shift, revealing hidden doors from them. Other prisoners stepped out, humans, aliens, hybrids, all confused. "They were keeping us." "Like data," one muttered. "Waiting for something," another said. Vera grabbed Ethan's arm. "This ship's not a lab," she said. "It's a breeding ground." The clone tried to flee, but a panel collapsed. Cutting off his escape, he turned and shouted, "You don't understand what's coming." "No," Ethan said, "but I know it's not you." Vera threw a pulse grenade into the hallway. It exploded in silence, a wave of light and gravity that erased the clone's path. They ran through the chaos, freeing prisoners, dodging blasts, and climbing through the collapsing structure. Every hallway looked the same, every alarm louder than the last. Finally, they reached a launch bay. Small escape pods lined the walls, just enough for a few. Ethan helped a child into one. Then, another wounded prisoner. Vera paused beside him. "There's not enough room for everyone," she said. "Then we stay," Ethan replied. "No," she said firmly. "You're the key, and they'll come after you next." Ethan looked at her, unsure what to say. She leaned in, pressing her forehead to his. "Don't let them turn you into him," she whispered. "Don't lose your human." Then she shoved him into the pod and slammed it shut. He screamed her name as it launched into the black void. Through the window, he saw her standing alone, a weapon raised, facing an army. Then the arc exploded into the stars. Ethan stood in a field of stars, barefoot. The ground was smooth and glowing like glass made of starlight above him. Massive symbols floated in the air, rotating slowly. He reached out to touch one and felt a sharp jolt of memory. Suddenly, he was falling, not through space, but through time. Flashes of other lives filled his vision. A soldier on a dying moon, a scientist whispering to an alien child, Prisoner screaming inside a cold metal pod. He fell through all of them, and each one had the same face, his own. He woke up gasping, curled inside the escape pod. The cockpit lights flickered. Emergency systems failing. Outside, stars drifted past, and a massive blue planet loomed ahead. The pod AI spoke in a calm voice, approaching planet Arios. No life signals detected. Ethan wiped sweat from his face. He didn't remember entering that dream or vision. But it felt more real than anything. He looked at his hands. For a moment, the skin shimmered with glowing lines, then faded. The pod shook as it entered the atmosphere. Clouds of violet mist rushed past the windows. The surface below was ancient, overgrown structures, half-buried machines. The pod crash-landed in a shallow crater, sending dust and broken metal flying. Ethan climbed out. Limping slightly, his suit was torn, the gums fried, but he was alive. He wandered toward the ruins, drawn by something he couldn't explain.
Vines curled around old towers, and strange glowing flowers blinked like eyes. He stepped through an archway marked with a symbol he'd seen before in the vision. A voice
Echoed in his mind, not from outside, but from somewhere deeper. Awaken. Last key. Ethan flinched. Who's there? He shouted, but no one replied. A nearby wall lit up as he approached. Reacting to his presence, a door slid open, revealing a massive chamber full of floating crystals. Each one showed fragments of different worlds, cities, wars, families, death and birth. He reached toward one crystal, and it pulsed. Suddenly, knowledge rushed into his head. Not words, but images, systems. History, maps, and faces he'd never seen. Ethan collapsed to his knees, holding his head. It felt like someone was rewriting his memories or unlocking them. After a moment, the pain faded. He stood slowly, and in front of him, a figure formed. From pure light, it looked human, his own shape but made of shifting stars. You're never just Ethan Cole, it said. You are the failsafe. What does that mean? He asked, voice shaking. You were designed to inherit the knowledge of the lost civilizations, he replied. You are the last bridge between species. Ethan stepped back. No, I'm not some chosen one, said. I'm just a cargo. Pilot, you were, the figure said, but the moment you entered the first vault, your DNA began to change. You were activated. Ethan's mind raced. He thought of Vera, her warning, her sacrifice. They were trying to stop. This, he whispered. The figure nodded, because not everyone wanted peace. The vaults were locked long ago to end the wars. But now the codes have awakened. A pulse ran through the chamber. The walls shifted, revealing a massive control panel. It hovered in midair, waiting for his touch. If you activate this, the voice said, you will unlock every vault across the galaxy. Knowledge, power, and memories all restored. And if I don't, Ethan asked, then the war returns, it said simply. And this time, there will be no survivors. Ethan stood there, torn between choice and fear. His hand hovered above the panel. And just before he could decide, a new voice echoed behind. Him, sharp and familiar, step away from the console. Human he turned, eyes wide. Vera stood in the doorway, burned and battle-worn, but alive. Her rifle aimed straight at his chest. I told you, she said, breathing hard. If you awaken it, they'll come for all of us. Vera's hands were shaking. Her rifle was steady, but her heart wasn't. She stood in the ancient vault, facing Ethan, her finger near the trigger. The control panel behind him glowed like a star. Fading, humming, calling, you don't understand. What you're about to do, she said, voice trembling. Ethan didn't move. I understand more than I ever wanted to, he replied. You lied to me, Vera. She stepped forward, lowering the rifle slightly. I was told to stop you, she said. You were never supposed to survive the crash. Ethan blinked. His heart dropped. So saving me was a mistake. No, she whispered. Falling for you was. The chamber pulsed around them as the vault reacted to their emotions. The crystals floated faster. The air buzzing with power above them, holographic stars flickered like candlelight. Ethan took a step closer. You had every chance to kill me. He said, but you didn't. I couldn't, she said, eyes glassy. You reminded me what it felt like to believe in something. The silence between them was louder than the storm outside. Then the vault's voice spoke again, keyholder. Detected, Vault 01 awaits final command. Ethan turned to the panel, his hand glowing faintly now. Something inside him had changed. Not just DNA, but purpose. If I open it, he said.
No.
The galaxy learns the truth. The wars, the weapons, the experiments, all of it comes back. And if you don't, Vera said, it stays buried and we stay hunted. A new rumble shook the vault. A ship descending from the sky through the ceiling dome. They saw it sleek, black, and covered in symbols neither of them recognized. They're here, Vera said, the ones who created the vaults. Ethan looked at her one last time, then let's give them something to be afraid of. He said. He slammed his hand onto the panel. Light exploded in every direction. The chamber filled with visions, memories from hundreds of worlds. Soldiers, rebels, children, kings, lives connected by one truth. They were all manipulated vaults. Across the galaxy lit up like beacons, ancient systems awakened. Revealing knowledge hidden for thousands of years, civilizations that had vanished returned in digital form, secrets once erased were now shared. Above them, the dark ship halted, scanners disrupted, its lights flickered as if it too remembered. Something, then it fled, silent, afraid. Vera fell to her knees, overwhelmed. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her close. We just rewrote the ending, he said softly. She looked up at him. No, she said, we just started a new one, as the vault settled into peace. The stars outside began to align, not by accident, but by design. A message formed in the sky, not written in any language, but in light, unity. Ethan and Vera stood beneath it, no longer mercenary and pilot, no longer weapon and key, but something more. Two broken lives stitched together by fate. The galaxy would never be the same, but at least now it had a chance.